In an age of battleships and big guns, little thought was given to the aircraft carriers, instead relying on battleships to win supremacy over the water. The first ships used for war were in ancient Greece and Persia, where the ships would come alongside each other as the soldiers would fight hand-to-hand at close range. For over 2,000 years, this style of battle reigned, all the way through the 17th century, when giant man-of-wars armed with up to 120 guns took over the seas. Naval warfare was dominated by shooting and being shot at close range. This tactic continued for centuries, and the race to build bigger guns and stronger ships was intensely competitive. This outdated concept was used throughout World War I, most notably in the Battle of Jutland, when 250 ships fought the biggest naval battle of the entire war, a battle revolving around battleships. This strategy was finally put to rest during the Second World War, when the course of battle revolved around the aircraft carriers' abilities to completely turn the tide of the fight.
Ships used to transport airborne vehicles were not exclusive to World War II. Reconnaissance balloons were aboard ships as early as the 19th century. The first airplane took off from a ship in 1912. However, ships built solely for airplanes did not emerge until 1918. They did not experience any battle during World War I. First illustrated.
Germany and Italy had no carriers at the beginning of the war, so the importance of these massive warriors was not realized until December 1941, when Japan entered the war.
After Pearl Harbor, all of the United States battleships stationed at the base were severely crippled or destroyed. Although this was devastating at the time, a new strategy emerged from the rubble. The United States was able to build bigger, faster, and better equipped battleships in order to protect the newly recognized power of the aircraft carriers. All of the United States aircraft carriers were away from Pearl Harbor during the attack, escaping damage altogether. Soon after the attack, these carriers were ready to strike back the Japanese. I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve. The new American Navy became centered around aircraft carriers instead of battleships for the first time ever.
These floating air bases became moving cities. Up to 3,500 sailors lived aboard these enormous vessels, equipped with everything from cafeterias to libraries. Each aircraft carrier manned 94 airplanes. 25% were fighters, used to defend the fleet and protect the bombers and seamen while attacking, while the rest of the airplanes were bombers, launching either torpedoes, which would hit the water and glide under it to the target, or dive bombing from atop.
Airplanes added a brand new aspect to Navy warfare. Not only did fleets have to worry about attacks from battleships and submarines, the crew members had to focus on defending from air raids. Aircraft carriers could launch attacks on enemy fleets from as far as 250 miles away, causing any fleet to be on the lookout at all times, no matter its current position.
The Japanese had a way of getting close enough to be picked up on our screens and stay out for hours. Obviously, they knew we would not secure from general quarters as long as bogies or skunk were present. There were many sleepless nights doing this. On these occasions, I had wished they would attack so we could destroy them and get some sleep. After the destruction of the Japanese aircraft carriers, the American carriers dominated the Pacific. The Japanese quickly realized this disadvantage and plotted to destroy the Allied aircraft carriers no matter the cost, first engaging the Allied carriers at the Battle of the Eastern Solomons. During this battle, the U.S. carriers' goals were to support the Marines, protect Henderson Field, and to combat and destroy any Japanese naval forces that arrived to support Japanese troops in the land battle on Guadalcanal, and did not expect the Navy battle which was to come. The two opposing naval forces, each equipped with two heavy carriers, headed at each other unknowing of the strength or location of their opponents. The forces continued launching spy planes, which ultimately discovered the opposing forces.
American aircraft took off from the USS Saratoga and Enterprise to attack the Japanese light carrier Ryujo, landing critical hits and sinking the ship, crippling the power of Japanese aircraft throughout the battle. While the attacking force was gone, the main Japanese force spotted the American vessels, launching a wave of fighters and bombers at the ships. The defense capabilities of the American Navy and the carrier's crew were able to fend off the attack, but the USS Enterprise got hit twice in the process, resulting in a fire which was put out quickly. The second Japanese wave went back empty-handed, as they could not locate the American Navy. The Americans won this battle, destroying more Japanese ships, aircraft, and aircrew than they lost, and delaying the Japanese attack on the island. This fight is just a glimpse into the actions aircraft carriers had to do in battle.
Eventually, as the Allies moved from island to island in the Pacific, as a part of their grand scheme to eliminate Japanese occupation, the aircraft carriers proved to be an integral role in providing cover. In the Battle of the Philippine Sea, the Allied navies outnumbered the Japanese 15 carriers to 9. This discrepancy proved detrimental to the Japanese, as they lost nearly 6 airplanes for every one the Allies lost. The Japanese lost 6 carriers, 3 of which were sunk. 3 other Japanese ships were damaged as well. Throughout the entire day, the Americans did not lose any ships, due in large part to the defense with which the carrier's fighters were able to repel the Japanese time after time. This battle would make way for the capturing of the Marianas, islands within range of hitting the Japanese mainland.
At the beginning of the war, America only had 7 aircraft carriers in their fleet. By the end, this number had grown to 22.
The intense fighting proved costly for America, as over 50,000 American sailors were killed in action on United States ships.
What started during World War II has continued for over 60 years. Today, aircraft carriers are bigger and more lethal than ever. The U.S. has 10 active aircraft carriers, not counting smaller escort carriers. These carriers are considered American territories, moving pieces of America. Standing 20 stories above the water, stretching over 1,000 feet from bow to stern, today's carriers are an impressive sight. They can achieve top speeds of 40 miles per hour and house planes which reach sound-breaking speeds. America's fleet patrols waters from Korea to the Middle East and all the way home. Today, the simple presence of an aircraft carrier is enough to influence decisions.